Don't try to go viral. Post-COVID, what you're going to see is a lot of people continuing with online commerce, which is going to increase the demand for digital marketing, but it's also going to increase how competitive digital marketing is as well. Focus on what you're naturally better at, because that's what you'll enjoy, and just double down on be the best person at that one thing.
Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and if you're on YouTube, click the alert notification.
With the pandemic, there's been a big boom on anything internet-based. It's convenient. You can get it delivered to you. You don't have to worry about COVID. And what you'll end up seeing in the future as well is, because people are starting to order off of Amazon, people who have never ordered before, like my parents or people who are older, ordered online sites now, right? Like they're ordering from e-commerce sites. They're getting used to it. They're seeing how it actually can be cheaper and more convenient than even going to the store. So post-COVID, what you're going to see is a lot of people continuing with online commerce, which is going to increase the demand for digital marketing, but it's also going to increase how competitive digital marketing is as well, which means you're going to have to spend more money, spend more time, more resources to get the same results that you were getting before.
On the topic of digital marketing trends, we also wanted to cover, is there such a thing as content saturation? The answer might surprise you.
Well, when you look at content marketing, the stats are pretty basic, in which there's over 1 billion blogs and there's roughly 7 billion people in this world. So you have roughly one blog for every 7 people. That's a lot of content. And then you have TikTok, you have LinkedIn, you have Clubhouse, you have Instagram. The number of social platforms out there has continually been increasing. People are now repurposing content, continually trying to build an audience. There's so much noise in the marketplace that it's harder to stand out. No matter what you're doing, you can jump over Lamborghinis. And if you're jumping over Lamborghinis and it used to go viral on YouTube, everyone's jumping over Lamborghinis right now, and it doesn't go that viral anymore. The point I'm trying to make is there is a lot of content, and there'll continually be more content. And even though people are producing content at mass scale, I personally don't see it actually decreasing over time. What I do see is people struggling to stand out. So you're going to see more noise, and even if more content is being produced, you're not going to see as much content stand out, or you're not going to notice much. Just like, you know how you have banner blindness, you see banner ads so often you tend to ignore them. You'll start doing similar things with content. And there's a lot of tools that are coming up which AI is helping you create content, actually becoming easier to create it. There's tools like Canva that help you create the visual images even quicker. So it's just going to cause more people to create even more content. But again, I believe people are going to have quote unquote content blindness, similar to banner blindness, in which they're going to ignore most of the content.
And because we began the topic of content marketing, I had to ask, what would his predictions for some content marketing trends be?
There's 2 big ones. So one is lives like this. Think about doing a podcast interview, but on Facebook. And you can use the streaming platforms to go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and you can do an interview everywhere at the same time, which can help you grow quicker. The second content format that I'm experimenting with is Reels. Okay, so everyone has a different version of Reel. Shorts, there's TikTok, right? It's going to vary per platform, but the content is pretty much the same. If you create these quote unquote Reels, what ends up happening is the people who see that content can be more than just your followers. So it's another easy way to grow.
Actually, Pinterest recently launched their story pins. Not sure if you have heard about them, but they are basically the same kind of format, such as Reels, but they enable you to create story pins, which are up to 20 pages long. So you can combine your Reels, and they're super, super powerful for organic reach as well. So anyone looking to repurpose their TikToks, their Reels, their YouTube Shorts, Pinterest story pins are definitely a viable option as well.
And it's funny, not too many people talk about Pinterest. Pinterest is one of the best sites if you're in e-commerce and you're trying to generate sales.
But because content marketing is only one portion of digital marketing, I also wanted to ask you, how can a beginner in digital marketing learn it effectively? Here is his best advice.
The easiest way to learn digital marketing is just go and do it. Create your own website. Go start a WordPress website. You can do it for free at wordpress.com, or you can buy your own domain name and, you know, pop up like a site on DreamHost and crank something out. And just try to learn and market your own site. Go read sites, whether it's, you know, mine at neilpatel.com or someone else's, that's fine. And just go and try to market your own site and get traffic. The best way of learning is just doing it yourself. It's just not, you can read all you want, but if you don't actually implement, it's not going to take you that far.
After you've gained knowledge in digital marketing as a whole, you'd also want to gain knowledge in one specific industry. Here's how to pick your niche according to Neil Patel.
Figure out what you have more natural skills and start with that. And just focus. People used to tell you that you can do everything. You can't do everything. I can't be a doctor. I'm not good at it. I don't have the stomach to see the insides of someone or their blood. Like, that's just not me. Focus on what you're naturally better at, because that's what you'll enjoy, and just double down on be the best person at that one thing.
And to wrap up the topic of digital marketing, I also wanted to learn what are some of the best resources that Neil Patel utilizes himself. Here is his list.
I read a lot of blogs, more than books, because they tend to be more up to date, and then I do a ton of experimentation.
Straight to the point answer. Do you have any book suggestions for our audience?
I keep up with Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, Moz, Backlinko. But yeah, those are the main blogs that I'm keeping up to date with. And then the other thing I do is track all your competitors and see what they're doing and see what kind of content they're pushing out, and it'll give you ideas. The other thing to do is continually look out for your competitions on podcast interviews. A lot of times they spill their beans on how they're growing or what tactics they're doing, and listen to that because it'll give you ideas as well.
After we have discussed digital marketing as a whole, as well as the future of digital marketing, I wanted to learn what is Neil Patel's social media strategy. Here's what he shared with us.
I have this formula that's been working really well, in which 40% of the time I create beginner content being like how to tie a tie, how to install a toilet, stuff like that. I know that's extremely beginner, but that's the stuff that people are searching for, but it doesn't create tons of social shares and it doesn't create tons of backlinks. 10% of the time I'm creating advanced content with stats, data that shows me as an expert, stuff that'll get a lot of social shares, backlinks, but doesn't generate that many links. Then 20% of the time I'm focusing on rewriting older articles. I go into Google Search Console, I see the older articles, and I take my last 30 days compared to the previous 30 days of the last year. So I'm comparing my last 30 days to the last year during the same time period, in essence. And I'm seeing which content generated more traffic back then than it does now. And I look at that content pieces and I see my competitors' ones and I rewrite mine and try to make it way better than theirs. So that way I can get more traffic to my older articles. And I do that 20% time. And 30% time, which gets me to 100%, I go and I promote my content, hitting up people on social media, asking them to share my content, offering to share their content, emailing people I link out to, asking them to share my content. But like processes like that just really help get more traffic.
And because I know that a lot of the audience of Neil Patel, as well as my audience, is from the younger generation, I had to ask him, what would the best advice for his younger self be?
I would tell him to focus. When I was 20 years old, I had ADD. I tried doing way too many things. I should have just focused. And if I stuck with marketing and I stuck with just practicing and helping them with their marketing versus trying to do too many companies, I would have had one company that was much bigger, much larger, doing much better. But I didn't do that. I had ADD. People would tell me about a really cool idea like, hey, we should end up creating Invisalign through 3D printers, or we should do some random stuff, and be like, cool, let me give you some money, or let me try that. I should have just focused my energy and my efforts.
And there is actually a great quote from my native language. It says, from two chairs on the ground. Basically, if you try to multitask, if you try too many things, your focus is going to be diverted and you are going to be ending up with nothing. This is something which a lot of people, especially in the social media marketing world, should not take for granted. Yes, you can repurpose content. Yes, you can be on multiple places at the same time and grow simultaneously. But unless you have those processes set in place, you're going to struggle with multiple social media platforms.
I couldn't also miss the chance to ask him what would his best advice to social media marketing experts be. This is what Neil Patel had to say.
Don't try to go viral. The other day I was talking to a friend and he's like, how many video views do you have? And I'm like, I have 37 million video views and I did it without going viral. And I was like, it's just consistency. You keep creating content, you keep pushing it out there on the social platforms, you'll keep doing well. And people are gunning for that. Let me just create that one hit wonder and get lucky. And I'm like, that's not in your control. But what is in your control is consistency, hard work, and just doing it for a very, very long time.